Good afternoon, diminished audience. The theme of this symposium is Theosophy in Daily Life, and I will begin by introducing our absent speaker. He couldn't travel to India for some technical problems related to his visa or his passport. I'm talking about Brother Ebroni Peteli, who is the General Secretary of the Eastern Central African section of the TS. So, Ebroni, if you're watching this, we miss you, and I have mentioned you. But we do have another participant of this symposium, and that is Miss Torra Buron, who is here. She was born in Barcelona, Spain, into a Theosophical family in 1952. Professionally, she has been a high school teacher for 37 years and is now retired of that job. In the TS, she was active in the European Federation of Young Theosophists in the 1970s, and later she was vice president of the Spanish section and was a member of the National Executive Committee as well. For a short period, she was a member of the executive of the European Federation, and presently she is the General Secretary of the Spanish section. So, with you, Ms. Torra Buron. Venga España.
Thank you. Thank you. Friends, Chairman, President, friends around the world who are watching through internet. Before I start, I would like to say a few things. The title of my presentation is Developing Spiritual Willpower. And let me explain to you why I chose this title and this subject. Because Theosophy in Daily Life, when I was asked to present that, I started thinking, well, Theosophy in Daily Life, so how do we explain that? And then it came to my mind that I have had the privilege of being in a Theosophical family, and what better example than my parents living a Theosophical life every day. So I looked at my father's life, and not only his actions or his efforts to go forward, but one of his main objectives, one of his main subjects was exactly this: developing spiritual willpower. And so I would like this to be an homage to him, because he has shown me the way. And then I also wanted to start with another story. I became a member of the TS in 1972, and I attended the summer school of the Latin countries, which was held that year in Switzerland. And the General Secretary at that time in Switzerland was Monsieur Trippet. Some of you may remember, but maybe he was a wonderful person. And he said something that really marked the rest of my life, practically. His words were, when Theosophy comes into your life, it changes it completely. And, well, I am starting my talk with his words. So once Theosophy comes into your life, I think it's not possible to keep living the same way you did before. Some say that the TS is too theoretical, too much theory. But I think that this is because they have not understood the transcendence of its teachings. Once you grasp the meaning of them, your life, your thoughts, your actions are necessarily affected. They cannot be the same anymore. Studying those theories implies questioning one's life in all its aspects. The repercussion of knowing about the basic theosophical concepts is such that one has to consider what he does and how he lives and what he thinks, and the necessity of changing one's lifestyle in accordance to those beliefs. I would like to quote a sentence by Marcus Aurelius in one of his meditations, which says, "Look well into thyself. There is a source of strength which will always spring up if thou wilt always look." So, the achievements of civilization are the result of the efforts of all human beings. Therefore, it is man we are interested in. Each one of us have two mental functions. One is instinctive, and the other one is not instinctive. The instinctive one is unconscious and automatic, and in it there is no place for will. This function is purely physiological, and we share it with the rest of the kingdoms. The other one is the result of will. It's the one that creates, it's the one that reasons and uses the free will to change our character and our way of doing things. In our lives, we are constantly participating of two fields, of two factors. One unknown, which is movement, its energy, its life, and which represents a renovation and a change for all things. And another one which is known, and it's the field of the forms, of what is concrete and perishable, subject to the process of birth, growth, decay, and death. It is important to have these two factors clear, life and form. In our books, it is said that life cannot exist without form, and vice versa. From this point of view, we must take care both of the aspect of life and the aspect of form. This body we inhabit is our best tool at this present stage. It is therefore necessary to educate the personality dwelling in the body. And it's us, the students of Theosophy, who gain from it a lot of information that enables us to do so. To educate means to bring out from inside what is dormant, non-actualized. Theosophy educates us to undisclose and bring out the divine essence we all have within, so that our spiritual consciousness can manifest itself at every moment of our daily life. It has been called many names: self-realization, human regeneration, search for wisdom, and many others. But it's all about the same thing: individual striving, character building, nobility of actions. To do so, one must develop the inner willpower, that tremendous spiritual power that is manifested as wisdom and love. This willpower, the spiritual will, is rooted in the higher planes of existence, the atmic planes. As incarnated beings, we can only deal with its manifestation on this physical plane. We cannot imagine or comprehend or control the powerful forces emanating from the atmic plane. They are beyond our reach. And we will be able to do so only when we transcend the physical plane and are capable of functioning in the higher planes of the spiritual world. In our books, it is said that for this development, the first step consists in elevating the center of consciousness from the field of the personality to the field of the soul or individuality. And this will not be possible if we are lost among the interests and illusions of our personality. The connection between the two planes must be cleared up at the maximum, so that the divine life can flow incessantly, bringing wisdom and peace and love. So that the divine life flows constantly, we are advised to dissociate as much as we can from the points of view and the attitudes inherent to the personality, and to make the lower vehicles be put as much as possible under the control of the higher self, our soul, our ego, big with a big E, and follow its directions as well. Now it's raining heavily. Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah.
You are being blessed.
Blessed rain. So, rain is cleansing. I have been coughing so much that it's coming here to cleanse everything. By the way, thanks to all of you who have given me strepsils, pastilles, and all sorts of drops and teas to heal my throat. It's much better now. Anyway, shall I go on? So, the first and essential step to achieve this, enabling the divine life flowing constantly in our daily lives, the first and essential step is the cleanliness of the mind. We have to observe this constantly throughout the day. It is therefore essential to cultivate the habit of recollection within oneself. By so doing, we will be able to actualize our true nature and our true goal in life. This implies the need for us to have previously reviewed all the problems in life and also the urgent necessity to raise above the illusions and weaknesses of our personality. So the self-observance is important. This can only be attained through practice and not simply by a theoretical study. And here we go. The TS is not theoretical for those who don't want it to be. During our past lives, our bodies have been going their own way, pushed by the residues of the previous impressions, with no control from us. This means that the task is arduous, but with patience and diligence, the inner power that appears progressively with the recollection we mentioned before gradually emerges and allows the spiritual will power to manifest itself through the center of the soul, which is the center of the spirit or Atman. So, to start with, we need a strong resolution to let the spiritual magnetism of Atman impregnate our character. If we start by controlling simple and ordinary things in our daily life, we will soon become the charioteer leading under our carriage and our horses. We will be the master of our vehicles, and we will keep them under control. Let me tell you a story about my father. He was working so hard with this willpower that in the place where he worked in one of these shops where they sell fabrics for making suits for men. And the basement was all full of these materials to be sold later. So, to educate this willpower, what he would do is, once the shop was closed, he would turn off the lights, go to the basement, all in the dark, and all the little mice and the little rats and the noises here and the noises there. And he would force himself to walk all along the corridor up to the end and then come back, walking, not rushing, to make stronger this will in himself. Let me tell you another story. When he was young, he was a handsome man, and he used to go dancing to the ball. And so once he decided to educate this willpower, what he would do is to prepare everything, go to work, prepare at home, get ready, get all elegant and everything, and then at the very minute he would step outside, he would say, "I'm not going," and he would stay. Just, to reinforce this willpower. Anyway, I must say that my father passed when he decided to pass. 1 year before he died, he said to me, "I'm going to leave you soon." And then sat on a chair and waited the right moment. Boy, if this is not willpower, I don't know what it is. Anyway, so we will then see, you know, when we are really the masters of our vehicles, we see that this is the essential function of the will regarding the lower planes. Once this has been achieved, each one of our vehicles will not desire anything but to be a willing instrument to the service of the higher self. As a result, every vehicle will only respond to the impulses coming from inside and will refuse automatically any impact coming from the outside or from an automatic activity of the vehicle itself. However, this is long and difficult, as we have already mentioned. The physical, the astral, the mental bodies have got, for a number of past lives, their own ways and customs which suit them well. They are so powerful that even if the reason says the opposite, one can only be subject to them and follow its consequences. But if we really want the change to happen and we persevere, we can achieve it with no doubt. And my father is the proof of that. When the spiritual willpower is acting in our life, the results are of an amazing nature. If someone threatens you physically, or insults you astrally, or flatters us, the natural reaction of the body would be to defend oneself physically with violence, or to respond to the insult with bitterness, or to become mentally very proud of oneself. But if we are aware of our main objective, that is, spiritual self-knowledge, spiritual self-realization, and to discover the divine power or divine life within ourselves, it will then be easy to discriminate between what comes from the past and what belongs to the eternal now. Both Krishnamurti and the psychoanalysis say that whenever we realize what our negative reactions are, an eye for an eye, etc., this of course astrally or mentally, it is enough to change the primitive cosmic energy which reacts impulsively into a positive and spiritual energy. Change that primitive energy into a positive spiritual energy. The more one is aware, and the more we return good for bad, difficult as it may seem, the more the immortal inner master, Atman, can, together with its Christic expressions and its dynamics of buddhi and manas, become the masters of our life and handle our ordinary daily life more and more. So we see that one of the functions of the will is to control the lower vehicles and also to provide the potential energy for their activities, its inhibition and regulation of activities. In his book Self-Culture, Dr. Timney says that the spiritual will surface our consciousness with an exact inhibition of the three lower vehicles, or with the non-identification with their sensations and activities. Dr. Timney says that inhibiting the activities of the bodies is something one can only develop after a long and difficult practice. The author names what are considered bad habits and the innumerable acts totally useless we do in our lives. The first ones, the bad habits, create karma, and the last ones, the useless actions we do, disperse the vitality. All these come with us like chains tied to our feet. Bad habits of the physical body, negative tendencies of the astral body, and a constant vulnerability of the mental body. He says, and I quote, "The culmination of the highest manifestation of his power of inhibition resides in the state of contemplation in yoga, with the body perfectly quiet and the activity of thoughts and emotions reduced to none. For unless the activity of the three lower bodies are totally inhibited and their vehicles are, so to speak, paralyzed, the consciousness cannot free itself to work on the higher planes and get to know those planes." Krishnamurti says that we can achieve this with a permanent state of alert consciousness. A permanent state of alert consciousness. This would allow us to do anything without losing view of the whole. Because the second function of the will is to regulate the activities of the bodies. As for the regulation of the different bodies, Dr. Taimni explains that we can observe three aspects. The first one, each one of the bodies has its likes and dislikes in a separate way. The first thing we must accomplish is to make them work together. Work them together. This is an unavoidable condition in order to do a beneficial work. In this way, it will become a useful tool for the Jivatma in its work on this physical plane and also for its own perfection. Second, those bodies resist new physical activities, and in this case, the will needs to persist until they spontaneously submit to the will. Third, for building up a character that incarnates wisdom, love, and the activity of the spiritual Atman, the will has to regulate the activities of the three bodies in such a way that they come to show not only an external perfection, but that they go into the depth of life that renovates everything day after day, hour after hour. When this perfection and depth is attained and a new job is awaiting or a new circumstance is facing us, we have to acquire the ability to completely leave behind whatever we have been doing up to then, and with all our capacity undertake the new situation as if it is a newborn. Taimni explains it very clearly. He says that when we can engage the three bodies together in any activity for as long as it is needed, when at the moment of most enthusiasm we can stop and be unaffected, or when we can undertake at any moment any activity without a blink of the eye, we know that the spiritual will is inhibiting, regulating and controlling perfectly the life of the bodies, of the personality. So, what we said about the development of the willpower gives us an idea of the opportunities we have already within us in every aspect of our life and in all circumstances, external and internal. Atman is the ultimate principle within us. It's the heart of our spiritual being. And through the spiritual will, which is the main tool, all our forces and all our vehicles through which these forces operate can be controlled, regulated, and strengthened. This primary, powerful, and dominant power within us is the one that has taken us through eons up to our present evolutionary state. It's the one that guarantees our final victory beyond our imperfections and weaknesses. This power is leading us towards our glorious destiny. He who takes his life in hand, holds the reins and starts studying and practicing the science of self-culture, is already working on the unlimited source of divine power until he becomes a center through which the divine will carries forward the divine plan, the divine plan, without any hindrance. And to finish, I would like to quote a sentence by Mahatma Gandhi. He said, "Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will." Thank you very much.